Welcome to Sports Back Talk with Boley and Ringer, and well, it's the middle of February. That means it's playoff time getting started at the boys' high school ranks, and of course, it was busy with the middle of the Olympics midweek here and everything else. So, where do you want to start, Mike? Any plans? You got a plethora.
Well, I got high school seedings, and I got wild information, and Olympics. That doesn't take much to say we don't have any medals.
It's a little interesting. I was talking with somebody last night. I said when Norway's got 27 medals and we've got 10. Well, probably 10 now because
we are 10.
We won one last night. This was before we won the medal today.
No, we are 10. No, we're not going to argue.
Yeah, we're not going to argue about it. Anyway, 27 or 10, 9, whatever it was, that's not a good sign.
Well, no, and if you remember, probably 24 years ago, the Canadian Olympic Federation got together and said, we're not competing at a level we need to. So they did something about it.
Yeah.
Will they do something about the American Olympic Federation, or do we really give a rip?
Well, here's the thing about it. I think a couple of weeks ago I told you about this article about Schuster that the Duluth paper had and how they...
What did I tell you about the Schuster rink?
Well, they're 500, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. We all love mediocrity, don't we?
That's what we live for. We live in Minnesota. But they talked about how they were going to start funding these people so people didn't have to have jobs, and so they could concentrate, and they'd have better nutrition and better facilities and better practices, and they'd have coaches year-round and blah, 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 blah. Well, if it looks like anything, it's gone this way. It's gone downhill rather than going up. It hasn't made things better. It's made things worse, like it's gotten too cushy or something. So.
Well, it's just I'm more, I guess, playful about all the skiing and trick events that the U.S. have brought into the Olympics, and they were darn good the first 8 to 12 years, but now they're struggling to even get in the medal rounds. And I see we got 2 or 3 girls in these jumps for tonight, but Lindsey Vonn and this Michaela, she hasn't lost in 2 years in the slalom. Shows up at the Olympics, and she's 4th place. There's an example of what pressure can do. It's easy to go out there and ski in these events that nobody is at, because it's really hard to watch a skiing event. Who's kidding who?
It's hard to watch them going 80 miles an hour?
They better have big screen TVs, and I'm guessing they don't have them in the middle of Big Sky, Montana, during whatever they call it, a U.S. skiing event. So I guess my point is, if you watch skiing in Big Sky, you're probably sitting at the bottom of the hill. At the Olympics, you're probably sitting at the bottom of the hill. So to me, that's not entertaining unless you got it up on the big screen watching them go down the hill.
So you got to be watching it at home on TV.
Absolutely. I mean, skiing events, it's on a mountain.
It is on a mountain.
So if you want to go walk around, like if you want to go watch a golf tournament, it's pretty flat. Augusta National has some terrain to it, but you can walk around from hole 1 all the way over to 18, not a problem. But skiing, you can't be walking up those hills unless you got those things on the bottom of your feet, those spikes. But anyways, getting back to my original comments, just seems like the Americans are underachieving, I guess. They should be doing better. The Canadians got like 18 medals. We have 9 or 10, which to me, if the Canadians are beating us in the Winter Olympics or any Olympics, we are doing things not right.
Not right.
Yeah, my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right.
Hockey team won last night. They were up 4-0 when I went to bed. Over Finland after 2 periods. What was the final? I have not even looked this morning.
I woke up, what time did it start?
Must start at about 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Okay, and I watched through 2.5. It was 4-0, and I guess they got one late. Watched the Russians and the Canadians. That was a rough game.
This morning?
Yeah, it was 2-0 after 2. But it was rough, and which I like to see. I like the Canadians getting roughed up a little bit before the often assumed gold medal game between the U.S. and Canada, and I think, like I mentioned on last week's show, I think the Americans have a much more talented team. Sometimes I worry about all this too much regrouping back and.
Does that have more to do with the big ice that you do a lot of that regrouping?
Well, you can, but it can be defended so well. I mean, you miss a pass while doing that, you're giving up 2-on-1s going the other way because everybody's going that way. Canadians are holding the line. They get a turnover, they're going back the other way, usually 2-on-1. And the Canadians have 4 or 5 really good quality players that if you give up 2-on-1s to, they're going to put it in the net. So sometimes I think I've seen it over about the last 2 Olympics is the Americans are getting too fancy. They don't get around the goal as much as the Canadians. Canadians fight for every inch. They get in front of the net.
Dirty goals?
Yeah, dirty goals. They work in front of the nets. They dig in the corners. I think the Americans are made more for the finesse game. And when I believe there's not going to be a lot of penalties called in that championship game, I think that plays to an advantage of the Canadians because I don't know who invented the wheel here, and I guess they think it looks pretty fancy and cool, but you still got to get the puck down behind the D, work the corners, get turnovers, and that's how you score goals in good quality matches.
Enough with the Olympics?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what's going on tonight. Curling, they're 3-3.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you.
Did they beat the Canadians?
No, they got walked by the
Did your Channel 13 come in?
Nope. No, it did not. Did your
no. And
disappointing.
Yeah, I got issues with that, but
a lot of the curling's been on.
But the Canadians, I know, played the Americans yesterday. They got swamped again.
I believe that they did.
They got swamped by Japan the night before.
Huh?
Who's swamping them today?
Have no idea. I'll be honest with you. I have not been keeping track of what's coming up because this week I was supposed to be. This is Monday morning.
I think the women's USA team could beat the men's USA team in curling.
No.
Even though the girls, ladies aren't doing as well either. They got swamped by the Canadians too. We get swamped by the Canadians in everything.
Well, maybe it's like you said.
Why?
Maybe it's time.
They got a population of what? A tenth of us?
A tenth, maybe.
Not even that. What's their biggest city? Ottawa?
Probably Toronto. I would guess Toronto's
Ottawa,
probably
Montreal, and you got British Vancouver over here, and you got I don't know, Edmonton and Calgary aren't real huge. So they got probably 7 big cities. We got 1 in each state. So we have to be 50 times larger than them. They're
not
killing
50,
us right here.
Not 50.
They have to be.
We've got like 300 and some million. They've got to have at least 50 million, right?
Yeah.
That's only 5. That's only
50?
5 or 6 times as big, not 50 or 60.
You think they got 50 million? Well, a lot of them. I think they double count them.
You want me to look it up on my phone while you?
Yeah, you can. We got 50. They probably got a whole bunch of people. They double count up there in the Northwest Territories, and does Newfoundland, does that count?
That counts. You bet. Absolutely.
Many people over there. So I just look at the United States. We got some of the largest states in all the world. I mean, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I still think anyways, we should still be beating them.
Population of Canada is 36.29 million as of 2016.
So in the 300 million, we got 10 times.
Almost 10 times, 9 times the size.
See, now you guys picked up some information you didn't know.
We gave you some geography.
We are 10 times larger than Canadians. And they got 10 times more medals than us.
There you go. I'm looking at my phone. It's Monday morning as we tape this show. The Bronco boys basketball team was supposed to be going to Two Harbors today. That's why we were taping it on Monday morning. And it looks like their game's been rescheduled for Thursday. So that'll just mess up the whole week. It's going to be a busy week because we're going to move into playoff hockey. That's a good segue. And the Bronco boys will be playing Tuesday evening, 5 o'clock down at the Heritage Center as they take on Duluth-Denfeld.
Does the cancellation have more to do with what's going on down there, or what the expectations are for the day?
It sounds like it's what came yesterday, the 5 to 7 inches that came yesterday, with the possibility of another batch again today on Monday. So putting the combination together, and they've got a lot of people that where Two Harbors is obviously, but they've got a huge school district that goes out into out into the hills and out into the remote parts, and so I think they're more concerned about that. And of course, I think they're concerned about the Broncos traveling back out of that. I don't think it's going to be too bad towards the range. I heard that my parents had maybe gotten maybe 5 inches yesterday, and they live just south of the Iron Range. So obviously there was some concerns.
What did we get, like 3 to 5?
I'd say we maybe got 3 inches.
I think so. I could check
maybe
on the top of my van this morning. But also, I go back, and the school districts are all about safety now and the kids. And
can't take any chances.
I would guess, and not to go back in my get out of my lawn days or get out of my yard, but I would guess in the 70s, you would need about 1.5 foot of snow for us to cancel something.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'd believe that.
And it would have to be at least 30 below to shut down the outdoor rinks because it's too cold. So times have changed, and probably for the better. I mean, but then again, buses back then probably went 50 miles an hour max. So
yeah, it's like I said, it's definitely nobody wants to get into a bad spot. So.
They're going to make this up, or?
Yeah, they're gonna. Looks like it's going to be rescheduled for Thursday coming up. So
you got to go again?
No, I won't be going to Two Harbors on Thursday. I'm sure they're going to play a 6 o'clock game like they had scheduled for tonight. I'm with the half a day off on Tuesday to get down to do the Bronco game at 5 o'clock at the Heritage Center and everything else. We'll be limited in what we can get done this week. So we'll just stay at home and probably do a Bronco girls basketball game on Thursday instead.
There you go. At least you're putting something on the air. That's what people want to hear.
So yeah, it's going to be a busy week as I was getting to. Bronco boys hockey on Tuesday. We're gonna do some Fort Francis playoff hockey on Wednesday from the Duke as they get their 3-game series. Not like here in Minnesota where you play 1 game and you're done. They play a 3-game series.
What's the Duke?
The Duke is the hockey arena that is on the reservation on the First Nations over there, and so they had a little scheduling conflicts. Somebody decided that the game was going to be on Thursday, and then it got moved to Wednesday. Well, Ice for Kids already had ice time plans, so they had to move out there. So they've got a few options
I'm
over
not
there.
doing that with you, am I?
Well, I don't know. I was going to ask you after the show. So
I'll do it with you.
Okay.
Just sign here. I'll sign.
Sign the contract here. You want the pen to sign?
I kind of want to go to the Duke just because
you haven't been there.
It reminds me of a movie that Peter Fonda was in. Or not Peter Fonda, Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Escape from New York.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The leader of the bad group was called the Duke. That was a great show.
A great show.
God, Kurt Russell. I mean, for a guy that came out of Disney, he kind of turned into a
tough guy.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to find. I wasn't going to use the other one.
Yeah, I know where you probably were going with that.
Anyways, what are we going?
Let's go to Section 7A hockey. We talked at length on Thursday on our hockey game from Lake of the Woods about where the seedings would end up, and we decided that the Broncos didn't look good. She got it all written down, AA.
I got a little more than Section 7A there.
Yeah, you've got a lot more than Section 7A.
But we can attack that first, and then if you want to.
So the Broncos end up 5th.
Yeah.
Are you surprised?
No. What did I say they were going to be? Did you see my tweet at 8 o'clock on Friday morning?
Yeah.
I gave my seedings out.
You did?
I gave them to you 2 weeks ago that the Broncos would get at least the 6th.
No, you said at least the 5th. Okay. I said they were going to be 6th.
Yeah, and I won a bet.
You did win the bet.
Boomtown, but instead now we're going to probably BW's. But anyways,
we'll see where we can fit that in.
I guess it's your choice. But so yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I think George had good ammunition. I told you to tell him good job. Hopefully you parlayed that message onto him, and he went down there. And I'm proud of George because. George had his ducks in a row, and you could tell him and his coaches discussed ways that they could definitely use to their advantage to get a higher seed. And that's what you got to try to do.
Yeah, I think the key piece of information, and I think I can share this without going too far out on a limb, was he told me part of the story was that Evelyn thought that they were the 6th seed.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as they said that, I'm like, well, okay, then, because the Broncos weren't going to be the 7 then.
And they weren't going to let Hibbing ahead of Evelyn.
Yeah. Exactly. So that kind of maybe cemented things. I like I said, I hope I didn't say too much. And
well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was meeting with one of my contacts with my real job. I don't get paid for this.
We have real jobs?
And I met with him for a good half hour on Friday morning before the meeting, and in Virginia, and he's got a brother that coaches, is assistant coach on the Evelyn team, and he had told me the exact same thing you just said.
That they were going for 6.
They were assuming that they were the 6 going in. They thought the Falls had a little better track record against the higher quality teams than Evelyn did, and I think that's why. And I think that tie with Virginia was huge. I really do. Also, the Falls had some injuries toward the end of the year, might have cost them a possible win in Crookston and Lake of the Woods. And I think George went in there and did a fantastic job, George. So not only are you a school teacher, I'm going to bring you up as a possible negotiator for School District 361, because showing up at those meetings, you got to be able to negotiate.
He actually is.
Well, you know what? His skills that he learned negotiating contracts has helped him in this foray.
So the Broncos played Duluth Denfeld, who is the number 4 seed, and the Broncos beat Denfeld during the season 4-2. And right up here, we were at the game. The Broncos trailed 2-1 after a period, or after 2 periods rather, and got 3 goals in the 3rd period to win 4-2. So how does that lead into Tuesday's game? Anything that you remember specifically about that game that kind of says the Broncos can take advantage of this?
So your question was regarding the first time 2 teams played? Okay.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, you were getting your beverage.
Yeah.
I get it. Got to keep those vocal.
So what do I think as far as, I think the Falls, not only, and you brought this up 2-1, I can't believe that actually the Falls were down 2-1 in that game, but you said they were, and you know more about stuff like that than I do. My eye test said the Broncos were the better team that whole game. They just never put the puck in the net till the 3rd period, and I think the Falls have 3 quality lines. I think Denfeld goes 1.5. They have a couple good defense. Didn't really notice the goalie too much. I like the Falls' chances, as long as, and I don't want to bring up an excuse, but I know what Duluth refs can be like. Okay?
It'll be interesting.
They are by far, and I can't get in trouble for this because it's my own personal opinion, it's not the opinion of KCC TV, is over the years, and I'm up 57 of them now, okay, and I've been involved since I was probably 16 with reffing on the Iron Range and the Falls area and Duluth. They are by far the, how do I put it? They call more penalties than any group of refs in northern Minnesota.
Okay.
And then they chop attitudes with it. Like if you say, what do you mean that's a penalty? They'll give you a warning right there. Like, one more word, you're on. So they started zero tolerance back when there was no zero tolerance, back in the 60s and 70s. So if the refs stay out of this game, I love the Falls' chances. But if it turns into a penalty-filled game where both teams are in and out of the penalty box, which hurts the depth of the Broncos. The Falls want to keep just rolling 3 lines. Denfeld, in the meantime, would like to see lots of penalties and lots of whistles, and because they don't go as deep as the Falls. And so to me, that's going to play the key factor. If there's more than 4 penalties in this game, I give Denfeld the advantage on that.
4 combined or 4
combined.
4 combined. Wow, that's a low number.
Because usually you lower penalty calls in the playoffs because you want the teams.
Yeah, you want to let them play.
Yeah, and Duluth, I don't know. For some reason, they just seem to try to get involved and make it more about the refs than the kids.
We talked when we did the game back on January 20th with Denfeld. The Broncos had went down on the same exact Saturday the year before in the game that you were at the Heritage Center, where they're going to be playing this game. And for lack of maybe a better term, they laid an egg. And I think lost by a final score of 7-2. And a lot of these guys were a part of that team. And so it's going to be interesting to see if that plays any mind games about how, and because I know George brought it up and the kids brought it up before they played Denfeld the last time. We laid an egg last year. We got to play better this time, and I think they did, with your comments saying that they were definitely the better team. So it'll be interesting to see if the Broncos go down there and have maybe that same chip on their shoulder with we got to play better in this building.
But they're not way, I mean, if I would say better, I would say 51-49% better.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like the team that wins is still going to need.
It's a 4 versus a 5 for a reason.
Yeah, and the team that wins is probably going to need a break. Going to need both teams are going to need good goaltending. But I really think the Broncos should win this if Trimble Butler plays and not only plays but can play up to his abilities. Because if he can't play 100% and he risks further injuries, I don't think it's worth it for him to play. And that'll be an interesting conversation between Trimble, the doctors. Of course, I'm sure Jerome Butler will get involved in this, and he'll want the well-being for his son, but he'll also want Trimble to play.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting decision. Let's talk about the rest of the section. Of course, the number 1 seed goes to Hermantown. Whoever wins the 4-5 game, you would assume is going to be playing Hermantown. You wouldn't suspect that North Shore, after their win on Saturday over Proctor, would upset Hermantown on Tuesday. The number 2 seed was the Greenway Raiders. They will get number 7 Hibbing, who beat Ely 12-0 on Saturday night in the play-in round. So we would suspect that Greenway would win that game. Not maybe over-handedly, but comfortably, maybe is the right word, yes?
Yeah, Hibbing's missing. I mean, I see what their team has, and they don't have this. They've had some high-end players the last probably 7 to 8 years, going back to the Johnson kid and then Perenovich and the Versich, and they've had some nice teams. Jared Lee, who's just signed, I guess, to go to Northern Michigan. But anyways, I just look at Hibbing as a non-threat, and that's why I figured they should be a number 7. They just have nothing. Their Bantams are pretty good, so they should have a decent group that's moving up. But not a good year, and I think I asked Randy Catron if they've ever had to play the play-in game, and I think he was going to do some research on that.
I would guess that's a big no, I'm going to guess.
At least since Class A came into the fold. I mean,
right, yeah.
When we had one class, I mean, back then, I'm sure, and I don't know if they really had many play-in games, but they had some struggling years, too, back in the 90s.
The 3-6 game, Virginia the 3 seed, Eveleth, as we've already mentioned, the 6 seed. So Eveleth doesn't have to go very far. Some very, I'm sure it's going to would have been tense no matter when they play this game, but in the playoffs it'll be even more tense. That game, I know. Well, I think against Virginia and/or Greenway, you get yourself in the penalty box, you're going to be in big trouble. If Eveleth can do that, I think. Maybe that's why maybe they wanted the 6 seed. Maybe they knew that it was better to get on the bus and go 5 minutes to Virginia rather than going down to Duluth to play. Maybe that's why they wanted the 6. Maybe they put some thought into it as well and said, where do we want to play? And is playing Virginia, who we have the rival with, rather than playing Denfeld, and Denfeld had beat them twice. Maybe that's why they said they were the 6 figure and Denfeld was going to get the 4. Maybe they played a little mind games too on that.
I like your logic. Unlikely though. Okay. They would definitely want to play Denfeld. The only thing is, who I thought to be a top 3 player in Section 7 this year with this Cody Hendrickson out of Eveleth. What? Big. He goes 6'2", 6'3" ringer, and the guy can skate. And I just haven't seen the same burst in him this year. There's been flashes. He's been playing better the last couple of 3 weeks, and I think there are some conditioning issues, and not to put the kid down at all, because I think he's got some really high-end skill, talent. And he's a type that kid that when he's on his game and he skates well, he could limit Sights. You know, he could limit him. He could push him around, and Sights likes to retaliate. And Hendrickson's kind of a mild-mannered kid, and it seems like a really good kid. And but the problem with Eveleth is they lost a kid, one of their sophomores. They got a ton of good sophomores right here, so they're going to be around here for the next couple of years trying to compete with Greenway. But they lost one of their defensemen who's a sophomore. They lost a couple other kids, from what I hear, to some issues outside the arena. So I think the lack of depth. I don't see the game. I think if they had all their boys, I think they could definitely give Virginia everything you want, even have a chance of beating them because of the rivalry issue. But not this time around. I just don't see it. So
1, 2, 3, 5 are the winning seeds this on Thursday. You're going to go with that?
Yeah.
I can buy all that. So that means Friday's semifinals at Amsoil Arena. That would be if we
Coach's
agree.
Corner show? Or do you have to have those on
Well,
Saturday?
here's the deal. They're going to play Friday night at 6 o'clock.
I know,
the
what's
Broncos.
with that?
Well, the
6 and 8 at night, really?
UMD women have a 2 o'clock playoff game, and of course that could go like 19 overtimes.
Yeah, it
because
could.
it's a playoff
that
game.
is going to be a
so
good
who
game.
knows if our game will start if the Broncos are in that would start at 6 o'clock on Friday, but they would be taking on Hermantown, and then of course Greenway and Virginia in the nightcap on Friday, and then of course the section championship game is on Wednesday, February 28th. Are we done with 7A?
Well, 7A, I mean, I guess we can go right out and predict it, right? Are we going to have a show before? Yeah, we'll have a show.
We'll have a show before, but
We'll get down before the Final Four, and hopefully we can do something. I don't know what, maybe a Thursday show, and hopefully the Broncos will be there, and me and you will be going down to do that semifinal
yeah,
game.
we would suspect that Hermantown would be the pick for the win for the number one team ranked in the state. I mean,
well, I don't know. I got some feelings on that, but
we'll wait with those till next week.
Those till next week. Yeah.
Let's move on to Section 7-2A. Rapids. How about when's the last time Rapids had to play in a play-in game? They had to play Cambridge Isanti. Of course, they won handily on Saturday night.
I say
so.
never.
Good, and you're welcome. Congratulations, you get number one Duluth East right after our game on Tuesday at the Heritage Center. So we're going to have to sneak in at least a period of that, Michael, to see what Duluth East has, so we can see them live against Rapids, the defending state champions. And then what do we got?
Let's get back to that game. It's the first time since Section 7AA has been brought into the fold that Grand Rapids has ever played Duluth East in a quarterfinal.
So not a semi or a final.
They've always played them in the semis a million times in the final. Well, not a million, that's a lot. But
that is a lot.
A number of times, mostly in the semis.
Yeah.
You know, last year they played them in the finals, of course, because we went down and watched that Elk River Rapids game. And Elk River actually, between all the games played from Section 7 AA semifinals to the state final game where they beat... who did they beat? Moorhead. Elk River should have beat Rapids in the semifinals.
Geez.
Elk
No doubt
River
about
was
it.
good. If they would have got to the state tournament, I wouldn't have been surprised if Elk River and Rapids would have met. Kind of like the old Section 7 days in the 70s and late 60s, where they had the back door until Duluth decided that we better take that away too. So again, Duluth, they always got something on me.
Of course.
But anyways, that Elk River team was loaded. They got Perbix kid back, but they're coming in as a number 3, so they got to somehow figure out a way to get through Andover.
And I was going to say, Andover is the 2 seed, right?
Yeah, they guaranteed a north-south end of the semifinals unless something goofy happens, which could happen.
Cloquet is the 4, is that correct?
Cloquet 4, Marshall 5, that could be a must-watch game.
Yeah.
In Cloquet, I believe those are starting on Thursday.
No, they'll start tomorrow.
They start tomorrow as well.
All those are Tuesday, so they got 8 quarterfinals on Tuesday for those games, because Easton Rapids play right after us. So
because that's a coin flip, Cloquet and Marshall.
I agree.
That's a great 4-5, and either one of those teams, and one has already proven it in Cloquet that they beat Duluth East here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So a 4 and 5 out of this section could make a run good enough to make the state tournament.
Those semifinals are on Saturday night, by the way, because they already announced that UMD will be playing Friday afternoon, Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon for their 3-game series.
Is that a best of 3?
That's a best of 3. And so the AA semis, Duluth East versus Cloquet or Marshall, and then Andover Elk River will be Saturday night, 6 and 8 o'clock at Amsoil Arena. So I know I can already see the wheels grinding. You're already thinking, can I go to Duluth 3 times this week?
Well,
Possibly.
It's been brought up, but I'm going to this area in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Madeira Beach between Clearwater and St. Pete.
So, you got to be saving that coin so you can.
Well, that's exactly it. I don't know if I can do it. I want to.
I hear you.
And my wife is very nice about letting me do things like that. And you just never know. I know my buddy Randy Catron has a place at the Hampton Inn on Canal Park on Friday night into Saturday, and I don't know if he's staying 2 nights, but good
Well,
for
hey,
him.
if you're
and
going one, you might as well go for two.
that's what I
It's a
say.
business expense now, right?
It is. I mean, I'll just send the bill to Danny, and I'm sure he'll sign off.
Hey, there you go. We do Coach's Corner Saturday morning from right down there.
There we go.
Except that there'll be divorce papers waiting for me because we already made big family plans for Saturday for me.
So you're not going to section.
I am not going
7AA.
Section 7AA on Saturday night. That is out for Tim, and which is fine. What else do you want to talk about with AA or single A hockey? You've got all kinds of notes. I see you've got teams circled, and I'm looking.
Well, you know, I find it ironic that 3 of the top 10 teams in the state, Hermantown being 1, Greenway being 3, and Virginia being 8, are in Section 7.
Yeah.
Okay. And Denfeld and the Falls are Denfeld's probably in the mid-20s. Falls are probably in the mid-30s. Yeah, I think Section 7A is definitely well represented. And another section further down south is Section 2A, where Orono, who I saw some guys predicting today, who are number 5 in the state, are in there with Mound, who's number 6 in the state, and Delano, who's number 9 in the state. So they have 3 of the top 10 teams. And again, your weaker ones, I don't know what Monticello, the 5A is probably the weakest section. They will win that by default. They got North Branch, Pine City, and Princeton. Not exactly hockey hotbeds.
Correct.
Not saying their teams aren't good, but you know, it just seems like Monticello, who's pretty good, made a run last year, got in the finals against Hermantown, and maybe even could have beat.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But section single A, Albert Lee's the number 1 seed up in 1A. They're up against Mankato. And you know who's really dropped off is the Rochester Lords, sitting at a 5.
Okay.
Now, how many schools? They got 5 schools now in Rochester. You got Century, you got Mayo, Marshall, Lords. So what's that, 4, I guess?
That's 4, and then of course all the surrounding communities are starting to.
Byron and I don't know if they're.
Yeah.
But anyways, Laverne's the number 1 seed in Section 3A. They've had some good teams in the past. They've lost all those high end players, but I see them moving on. The one big upset I do have is Mound coming out of Section 2A. I don't think Orono's as good as they say. And then our neighbors to the west, surprisingly, with a much lower QRF, Lower Road, getting the number 1 seed over the 10th ranked team in the state, East Grand Forks.
And that's has to do, I think, with what Coach Kraus told us from Lake of the Woods on Thursday. Basically, this is who you play. There's a certain number of points. You get those points, you're the seeded that way. So War Road, the number 1 seed, but you've got East Grand Forks.
I got East Grand Forks coming out of there, and Crookston, of course, our former Bronco Josh Hardy over there coaching the Pirates, and he got into number 3, and I bet that's the highest seed they've had in probably 20, 30 years. Ringer.
Okay.
Did you know that used to be a private school?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Back in the 60s. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
The town was the town was that small that they were.
I'm not sure what the scenario was, but you know, I find a little silly little research out. I don't know where I find it, but it was an interesting story. But good for Josh over in Crookston.
Yeah, it seems like these guys.
You know, you look at when he showed up there; they were winning 4 or 5 games a year, and I always check that out and see the development. And he's definitely doing something right over there. Thief River Falls, in my opinion. They built the new arena. All of a sudden, their program for about 8 to 10 years was good.
Yep.
That's kind of worn off. Now you see I don't know if it's just this year, but Thief River's kind of dropped off a little bit. But congrats to Josh Hardy and his Pirates. And some are talking that they have a legitimate shot of unseating the top 2 teams.
Would be interesting. And of course, you talk about building the program. And of course, George said this on our Coach's Corner show on Saturday morning. He said, first year we were a 9 seed, and last year we were a 7 seed. This year we're a 5 seed. Mm-hmm. So he says, I hope that shows that we're trying to put things in the right direction, and hopefully that seed could go up further next year.
We got a lot of sophomores, and we got Wickland kid and this Hell kid. I watched him. They'll be able to step in next year and play varsity. I think Wickland, he's one of the best 9th graders I've seen in northern Minnesota. So. He was hurt this weekend. I guess he got hurt on Saturday, which hurt their chances against Hibbing on Sunday to make a shot at the regions. But he's a nice player, and we'll see some good things out of him. And I think the Broncos are going to be around for the next 3 years.
1AA, you've got Lakeville North start in 1AA.
Yeah, and interesting over in Section 2AA, and then when Eden Prairie's your number 4 seed in your section, that's pretty loaded. They got Minnetonka, Holy Family, who's ranked number 7 in the state. Minnetonka, of course, number 1 in the state. So that could be a fun section, Section 2AA.
That's going to be a semi Minnetonka Eden Prairie.
If you really want to get goofy, and I'm one of those types, I might just take some time off, go down to the cities from Thursday to Sunday, and just travel from arena to arena.
There you go.
That would be fun to me.
Go sit at Mariucci for
St. Thomas Academy looks like a walk-in on Section 3AA. I don't see a real threat from all these new schools like Eastview and East Ridge and all that Egan area. And Egan's one of them. Egan, Eastview, and East Ridge are all basically one section from years ago.
Yep.
And then you got Burnsville now, a number 6 seed, who's always been a top 2 or 3 or 1. And so I see St. Thomas Academy coming out of there. And to me, one of the weirdest sections would be Section 4AA, where you got White Bear Lake sitting number 6 overall in the state. I think a little overrated at 6. Because I think Stillwater, and I got Hill Murray still coming out of the section because I love the coach. I love Bill Lechner. He's a little controversial, but he has rules, and the players better stick by him, and parents don't run him out. He runs a good, hard ship, and he's disciplined, and they let him stay. And then down below, we got another really tough section, probably the toughest section in the state. You got Edina, who's number 2 in the state. Cretin-Durham Hall, who I didn't realize was this high ringer, at number 5 in the state. And Wayzata. Holly Cretin-Durham Hall got in with them teams, Edina, Wayzata, and Bills Benilde. It looks like a private school type thing.
It does.
Okay. To me, they should be in with St. Thomas Academy in that group.
Yep.
My opinion. Or at the worst, maybe White Bear, but
it's a tough slice of the pie, and I'll explain just a little bit from my experience because over this past summer, the math team league that the Broncos actually going to state in the math team league won the Iron Range division this past week. Kudos to the boys for making that happen. But I had a chance to put my stamp, so to speak, on how these sections should be cut. And I'll tell you what, cutting the Twin Cities up fairly is
tough.
It's tough. Matter of fact, I would say we're going to break it into 3 classes. So you're talking 1A, 2A, 3A, and starting to divide these and find the right place and who's got connections athletically to the academics. And of course, you start putting the Minnetonkas and the Eden Prairies together. Well, whoa, we've got top programs, and what are you going to do about Wayzata? Because how do you divide the pie and make the circles and everything work together? It's a tough thing, and again, I do agree with you. What's Cretin-Durham Hall doing on that side of the river?
Yeah,
if I can say it that way.
Exactly. And
if
then
they take the Mississippi River and kind of slice it in half, it seems like they're on the wrong side of the bridge there to be in Section 6-2A.
Yeah, and then down below, of course, Duluth East. I see any one of those 5 teams making it. Duluth East is definitely a notch above.
Yeah.
They got the one big line with Worth and Lemaster
and Randolph always has them ready for the playoffs.
I think again another controversial coach, and but his record, he's like a icon now. I mean, you aren't going to see coaches go more than 5 years anymore, Ringer. That's my opinion. I just read in the papers every single day. I see the Evelyn basketball coach. He
girls
had to get
basketball
out
coach resigned with 2 games left.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
We got the head volleyball coach at Bethlehem Academy in Faribault this week, over a week ago now, be informed that he was not going to be offered a contract for next year. Bethlehem Academy's been in the state volleyball tournament. I don't remember the last time they weren't in the state Class A volleyball tournament. So, it's a tough business.
It's it's got to get to the point. It has to get to the point where you don't even hire coaches. You basically got to hire.
The parents decide who they want their person to be while their kid's coming through.
What's the word I'm looking for? A psychological. What do you call it? The people that help decide where you were going to go to school when you went and saw them in the high school? They would take a test. What do you call those?
No, the kind of the psychological predictors, the PSATs and the S. You're talking that.
I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, I think coaching is the least of your qualities you should have now to coach athletics now. And I hate.
Oh,
to
I
say
see what
that.
you're saying. I see where you're going. Yeah, you've got to
know how to talk to each individual, all 20 kids on the team. You got to know how to talk. I understand each kid's different. Okay, so I understand some kids can be yelled at, some kids can't. Some kids got to be catered. I mean, that's the way it is. The kids have been like that since the beginning of time. But since about year 2000 on up, I mean, it just seems like the parents have thought or have brought to their attention that they should have just as much power on what gets done at every level as the coach. Okay? I coached for 1 year. I was ran out. Okay? And to this day, I mean, I regret it because it was 2 sets of parents that basically ran me out. I should have steadfast and stuck up because I had a large court that wanted me to stay. Yeah. Because they understood that this was a longer term thing. It wasn't a 1 year thing. I needed to change things the way they were being run now. And my style was rough. It was. I was tough on the kids, no doubt. But my thing was I needed to change the atmosphere to get all the kids a big part of the program and to change what we were doing. That was my goal, and I probably would have lasted 2 years. But anyways, I guess I get back to the point is it's gotten to the point now where parents they can come out and say whatever they want to remain anonymous. Okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the coach can't because he has to attend a school board meeting, which gets publicized in the newspapers, radio, everything. Okay? And to me, that's totally unfair. I think the parents that make the accusations should have to come, and believe me, I know who the parents were, but I just, to this day, all stuff has to change, and I think our superintendent, Grover, has done a really good job, because he's always he's not on anybody's sides, but he's going to defend his coaches unless he feels that it's gone way too far.
Yep.
But I don't know. We can go on with this subject forever. But
I'll bring this point up, not just whatever, but because I found it very humorous in some of the comments that I saw. But a few weeks ago, Joel McDonald got a headline in the Hibbing paper. He got caught for baiting deer during the hunting season.
I suppose.
And so he gets a big headline, and of course there were other people at the same hearing at the same time who had also got caught for baiting deer and everything else.
Was on that.
And there was no report on these other people in the entire paper. But Joel McDonald, because he's the head basketball coach at Hibbing, he gets a headline in the sports page about that he got caught for baiting deer, and the people just went berserk about how dare you drag him in, and not, if you're not going to do him, you got to do everybody else. And it seems like coaches are sometimes held to a little different standard. Not everything's going to be perfect, and I'll say it this way. Not everything's going to be perfect. Everybody has jobs where you make mistakes. You got to learn from those mistakes. And of course, you're working on a hockey team or a football team, working with 50 individual kids. Somebody's going to get overlooked. Somebody's going to have something said. They're going to hear something a different way. They're going to perceive it a different way. The coach is going to say things. So to me, it's a tough gig. It's really tough.
And I'll close it on this.
Yep.
We've kind of probably gone too long.
Yes, we have.
But the coaches, believe it or not, don't wake up on Monday morning and say, "I'm going to pick on Johnny today." They don't do that.
No.
They want everybody to just, when the coach walks in the locker room, he wants to see a locker room full of smiling faces and happy kids, and kids that can hardly wait to get on the ice or on the basketball court or on the track or on the baseball field. That to me is what the coach is. That's the dream of coach wants to see. So he doesn't wake up on Monday morning and say, "I know Johnny, I don't like him, I'm going to go there today and screw him over."
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. Okay?
No.
Doesn't happen. Let's
Nope.
go on.
Let's move on. You got some notes on the Wild?
Well, I do. Just some
the Wild,
statistical
a
stuff.
3-2 shootout loss on Saturday to Anaheim. 11 rounds. Did I hear that right?
12 rounds.
12 rounds.
I was actually at Daddy Daycare that day.
Yeah. What was going on? Just a weekend away?
Well, I told Diane, I said, your turn to choose. It's Saturday. We have nothing going. We got money to burn in our pockets. And we went down, and then she did her thing that she likes to do in bookstores and
Sure.
wherever else she goes, I don't know. And she dropped me off, so I watched the game there. And the Wild played pretty good. They've been a little off on some games, and I like how Seaver's playing though. But anyways, we got about 24 to 26 games left in the year, right?
24 games. I see that.
And right
yeah.
now, if the Wild, they got 28 games left, or 24 games.
24
left.
games
They got
left.
14 at home or on the road, and 10 at home.
That's probably better because they play better on the road, don't
Well, they've been pretty darn good at home up until they what 2-1 and
they? Yeah,
2.
I should.
2-1 and 2 in the 5-game homestand against some pretty doggone good teams. So it was a good week. And if they can go 2-1 and 2 every 5 games the rest of the way, they're going to be in good shape. Because right now, if they went 500 the rest of the way, okay, meaning 14 and 14,
Okay.
they would end up at 97 points, which every year is an automatic. I mean, you get in the mid to lower 90s, you're usually in.
Okay.
But this year's going to be a little different. I think they probably will have to go a little above 500 to get in. They got 3 games coming up. Right now, they're sitting in the 8th spot with 69 points. There's 3 behind St. Louis and 3 behind Dallas, who lost again last night, which helped. Colorado lost last night, which helped.
Which helps.
So the Wild also have 2 games in hand on St. Louis. So if they win their next 2 and St. Louis has a play, the Wild would jump ahead the Blues. Blues are the teams I think is the one that might be dropping a little bit. Dallas to me and St. Louis, one of those 2 teams are going to finish behind Minnesota.
Really?
I got Minnesota getting in now.
Jeez.
Pretty wishy-washy. I know. But anyways, Winnipeg's sitting atop. Nashville's been losing of late. They got 77. Winnipeg has 79. The leading team in the West is, of course, the expansion team.
Which makes all kinds of sense.
Yeah, they got 82 points. But right behind the Wild got 69. Calgary has 68. The LA Kings 67. Colorado 66.
And your Chicago Blackhawks
are at 58, so they're 11 behind the Minnesota Wild with approximately 24 games. 25.
Ain't gonna happen.
I just don't see it. Too many teams to jump is the reason. Yep. They got to jump all Colorado, LA Kings, and Calgary. Yep. But I look at Chicago. They do play a lot of teams we want them to beat. And I also looked ahead and saw a big weekend series for the Minnesota Wild is coming up March 29th to the 31st. Right in the middle of March Madness.
It's Easter. That's Easter weekend.
It is, and we're getting right into probably the Final Four will be coming up, or has already been played.
I think the Final Four
is that weekend.
I got it.
And they have a back-and-back home-and-home series with the Dallas Stars.
Could make lots of decisions.
Come out of 3 or 4 points out of that 2-game series with Dallas. I like the Wild's chances, but if they lose both, then that's going to hurt them. But who's to say now? We still got, like I said, 24. There's going to be more injuries coming up. Okay, that could play key factors. We're going to get Brodin back. Looks like sooner rather than later. Could be about a week away now. He's been out for 2 weeks now. They figured 4 to 6, but he's a little ahead of schedule. So it's going to be fun all the way to the end. Teams with 72 points and all the way down to 66. They're all within 6 points of each other. Any number of those combinations are going to get in or out, and I think the Wild right now are in good shape. They go out the whole week is in New York. They got the New Jersey Devils today at noon.
Yep.
They got the Islanders and then the Rangers. So 3 big games over the next 5-6 days.
And of course, they got to be out of town because the state girls hockey tournament is at the X starting on Wednesday. As I got to think for a second here. I know Proctor Hermantown in Section 7A, but I'm trying to think who they play. Double A is
Andover.
Is that who? Yes, you're right. It is Andover. So the Class A starts Wednesday. The Double A starts Thursday, and of course, I'm sure the semifinals will be, I think, probably on MeTV on 140.
Hopefully, you get to watch some. There's some there's some good quality girls out there. I tell you, they can play the game.
So, what else we got? I'm sure you watched the NBA All-Star game.
No, I did read though that Jimmy Butler never saw the court.
Okay,
Didn't play.
good,
Didn't want to play.
good.
And,
I know.
it's good that the coach,
Respected his wishes. Yeah, and Kat, I know I saw this morning had a double-double. I don't even know how many points or
Who
rebounds.
won?
The East won, or LeBron's team won,
Oh yeah.
because they mixed them all up and whatever else. And LeBron won the MVP. I saw. So
Where was the game again?
it was at Staples Center in L.A.
Oh really?
Isn't that interesting? That maybe he might end up anyway. Who knows?
Well, what's Lonzo Ball? Who's his dad? Lamar.
Yeah, I don't.
He was at the dunk contest, front row. How? I guess at Staples Center. Yeah, I'm guessing. With
the sun being on with the Lakers. So,
anyways, this has been kind of a. How do I put it? We've been all over the board.
We've been all over the board today. If you didn't find something that got your
or ticked you off,
that's where I was going.
But we either want to make you happy or make you mad. If we don't do one of the two, we're not doing our job, right?
I agree.
At least that's the way I look at it. You always try to. You like making people always happy. But
Well,
I like a little bit of controversy.
I don't mind a little controversy. It's like I said, it's playoff time. This is a great time of the year. It's not as good as October, as I try to tell you every year that October
way better than October.
is the best time of the year.
Why?
Well, A, it's my birthday in October, but B, because you've got the World Series, you got baseball playoffs coming up, football in full swing, basketball and hockey are just getting started.
The most overrated day of the year.
It's
Halloween.
It's October, and the weather's changing. It's the most beautiful time of the year with the leaves.
It is not. We can get winter storms.
Could get those in February, March. Matter of fact, that's why I'm not going to work today.
Yeah, but I don't even shovel anymore in February, March, because I know it's going to melt soon.
Just keep walking on top of it, even if it's 12 inches, right?
Anyways, again, we're at Bronco Arena, looking at some of our section teams behind us. I don't know if it's on the camera. We got all the way down. They're starting to get
things are coming
all the
back
stuff
together.
Back in here, and hopefully we can get our mural thing back out. And
I know somebody mentioned here a few weeks ago, where are the pictures at? So I had to tell them that we had a little fire here, and I did see that the pictures are back.
Did those ones survive, the ones over on there?
Most of them are in workable condition. I saw a couple of them in the office the other day. I was talking with Superintendent Kevin Grover, and he's been kind of spearheading getting everything cleaned up and everything else, and now it's just a matter of getting frames put back around everything, or if they need new pictures of some of these people. So somebody's got some legwork to do, but I think now that we've got towards the end of the hockey season, I think maybe that project might get pushed back to the summer and make sure it's done right. So that's what I want to see.
What I would like to see, I love the mural. I'd like to see, like, you go to a lot of high schools and stuff, all the Division I pictures of all the ex-players. But I don't know if this room is big enough.
Yeah. Well, we
think about it.
Yeah, we were over at Lake of the Woods, and of course they got the jerseys up.
They got all their Division I players, but theirs takes up. And nothing against Lake of the Woods. Yeah. They've produced some really high-end players like Ballard and Weibel and that whole group there. But if we did it, I don't know. We would have to go downstairs.
We might have to go downstairs. Maybe that's a project you should start working.
It has to be over 200.
You think that many?
I should do that research. Just find out how many, and
we can hardly wait to see the completion of the project.
Maybe I'll spearhead it. I'll go to the school board over at Falls High, and not that I ever want to single out individual players, but that might be the only way I get my picture on any wall in here. We'll leave on that.
Thanks, everybody.
Don't take us too serious.